Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Tim sent me a note and said, Steve, check out this story out of Colorado. And this is a wild one. I'm not really big into amusement parks. I haven't been to an amusement park probably in 40 years, 35, 40 years. When I was a little kid, I used to go to them, and I used to go to the local fair when it came into town. And I didn't, I had fun at those rides and stuff. But as I got older, I kind of But I know adults who are so into amusement parks, and they go every single year to, spend a day someplace, couple days someplace. I'm just never got into it as an adult. But this story is about a Colorado jury that awarded a family $205 million after their 6-year-old fell to her death from a theme park ride. And it turns out she's never properly buckled in before the operator overrode the warning alarm on the haunted mine drop. So Emma Bussey wrote this for Fox. The Colorado jury has awarded $205 million to the family whose daughter fell 100 feet to her death. The verdict was issued recently in Garfield County District Court. It's among the largest wrongful death suits and awards for a single plaintiff in state history, okay? So the girl was from Colorado Springs and visiting Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park with her family over Labor Day weekend in 2021 when tragedy struck. Now, investigation paperwork that the news looked at shows that the girl was not buckled into her seat properly before the ride started. Instead, she was seated on top of still buckled restraints that had been left by a previous rider. Now, an alarm warning sounded to let the operator know there's a problem, but the operator overrode the system and started the ride, according to the documents. So the haunted mine drop was the first drop ride of its kind. It plunges riders underground, and they drop about 110 feet into a darkened shaft. Riders used to sit together on a bench-like seat in a dim chamber, and we say used to because the ride is no longer functioning. After being secured with seat belts, the lights would go out. The attraction would simulate a ghostly presence and then send them plummeting downward in total darkness. The freefall ended with glowing lanterns illuminating the mine walls before riders were brought back to the loading platform. So following the incident, the drop was permanently closed. The family's lawyer says for 4 long years, Glenwood Caverns has denied fault for the death of the child, who was dropped 10 stories to her death from a ride. Her parents took this case to trial to prove what really happened and to try to save others. According to court documents, the family's lawsuit was filed in 2022, and they alleged operator negligence, but also claimed that the operator of the amusement park ignored repeated customer complaints about unsafe practices on the ride. Investigators also came to the conclusion that there were several staff errors that led to this, including failing to prepare the seat belts before boarding began. So somebody should have, when everybody got off the last time, looked to see where the seat belts were. And if you saw one that had been buckled back together again, presumably you unbuckle it so someone can get in there and buckle themselves in more easily. So the marketing director of the park said in a statement that a co-defendant had manufactured the ride with a defective restraint system that caused this heartbreaking accident, and also indicated the manufacturer had certified the attraction as safe despite a defective restraint system. Our hearts go out to the family, and then stated that the park was exploring all options so that we can attempt to continue to operate, serve our guests, and continue to give back to the community. Now, prosecutors declined to pursue any criminal charges, citing challenges in proving, in essence, criminal intent, but the civil trial gave the family their day in court. So they are grateful to the people of Garfield County for being so kind to them during this long trial. That's their attorney speaking. Fox News also contacted the owner of the park for comment, but did not hear back. And so that's the story. And it's somebody who died as a result of an accident on an amusement park ride. And, amusement parks, I'm sure if you did the math on them and how many people actually have serious accidents like this versus how many people go through them just with no problems, it's probably quite a good safety record. It probably is. It's probably similar like airline travel, where they say, well, if you look at how many people fly every single day and how rarely bad things happen, it's pretty safe mathematically. But the difference is that you can fly someplace that you can't walk, you can't drive. You could take a boat probably, but it'd take you forever. And so you do the odds and you say, okay, I think that's okay. Similar to driving a car on the freeways of America. Do people get hurt? Yeah, quite often. But compared to how many riders there are, the distinction that I see in my head for an amusement park is you're doing something that appears to be quite dangerous. Now, they say they've reduced the risk, but interestingly, the whole purpose of the ride is to make it feel or seem scary, i.e. sort of dangerous. And so you're on something that's intended to feel kind of dangerous, and something like this happens. And then you ask yourself, okay, and so why were we there in the first place? And I'm not blaming the family, I'm not. I'm just saying that there's a big difference between an airplane, which is overseen by the FAA and the NTSB and all kinds of federal agencies watching it and governing it for safety, and a whole system in place, air traffic and so on, to allow for safe air travel. Who's overseeing the amusement parks? Now, I'm sure there are organizations that oversee them. There has to be, right? And somebody certified this ride as safe. But when you make a ride that's unique, because they said when this ride came out, it was the first of its kind, how do you know it's a safe design? And I understand that there's ways to figure this stuff out, and there's very, very smart people who sit around and go, okay, what are the hazards, and how do we eliminate them? And so we're going to have this system that drops this thing down into a hole that's 120 feet deep, and then it raises it back up again, and everybody gets off. It's pretty straightforward. But we hear these other stories, and I remember I've heard some other ones. There's the famous one about the water park slide, and there's others out there. And it seems, and again, this is just my memory, but it seems we hear a story like this once every year or so. And again, you're going to say, but Steve, mathematically, the number of people who go to amusement parks every single year, if you hear about it once a year, then that's actually a very, very small number. But you look at the one person like this and go, okay, but how do they test a ride? It's the first of its kind, and it's designed to feel scary, and it feels scary because it's doing something scary. It's taking people and dropping them 110 feet into a hole in the ground. And when you describe it like that, it doesn't sound like a lot of fun. But could just be me. So it's a crazy story, but it's a 6-year-old who wasn't buckled in. There was a warning to let the operator know she wasn't buckled in. And according to the lawsuit, the operator overrode the warning and let it go. So there you are, $205 million later, and we'll see what happens. I don't know necessarily whether that theme park can survive that kind of a financial hit. We'll see what happens. So, Tim, thanks for sending that from Fox News. Colorado jury awards family $205 million after a 6-year-old falls to her death from a theme park ride. One thing we do not know, and it's not in the story, is how much of that would be compensatory damages and whether any of it was punitive damages. Because it's not uncommon you see these large awards. I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, that a portion of that is compensatory, which would be for pain and suffering of the victim, and then also lost companionship for the family, and then, of course, various things that go into the loss of life for the deceased. But then punitive damages are often designed to deter bad actions in the future, bad behavior. And so they'll say, and on top of that, you pay all this money so you don't do it again. And a lot of times on appeal, it's those numbers that get struck down or lessened, but we don't know how that breaks out here. So we don't know that, so we'll have to see if anything happens later on the roads with an appeal. So Fox News, Emma Bussey wrote it. That's the story. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Having been erased, the document you are seeking must now be retyped.